Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for joining. Today I want to talk to you guys about the scale, the number on the scale, body composition, BMI, what it means, muscle versus fat, all these things that make us think about what we weigh and what that means. So the first thing I want to talk about is BMI. I've had so many people message me on Instagram and ask me about BMI in relation to the number on the scale, just because they find that when they do their calculation for their BMI, it categorizes them as overweight or obese when they're actually in an average size body. So BMI stands for Body Mass Index, and it basically takes calculation of your height and weight. These are the only two contributing factors, with a couple other multiplying factors into the equation, but height and weight of you personally are the only two things that matter for this equation. BMI will give you this value that's supposed to be implemented into this norms chart that they give you, and it'll categorize you as either being underweight, average or normal weight, above weight, obese, or morbidly obese based on this value. And if you look at yourself in the mirror and you think, hey, why is my BMI calculation telling me that I am obese? When you think that you look quite average, you work out, you eat healthy, this is a question that a lot of people have. The problem with BMI is that with the height and weight calculation, it doesn't take into consideration anything with regards to how much body fat percentage you actually have, how much your muscles weigh, how much your bones weigh, how much your soft tissue weighs in your body. It literally just takes height and weight, puts it into a calculation, and spits out some value that you're supposed to think is going to accurately describe your body. Needless to say, BMI is probably one of my least favorite ways to calculate your body fat, your body value, your body weight, whatever you want to consider that to be. It sucks. Honestly, in university when I was taking kinesiology, literally everyone was like, you can use it because it's a quick calculation, but it really sucks. It's just a crappy equation. So there's other ways that you can calculate or use these different tools to actually get a better accurate representation of what your body is composed of. The second thing I want to talk to you guys about is the number on the scale. Everybody looks at the number on the scale. I can't tell you one person that I know that has never jumped on a scale besides doctor's appointments to see how much they weigh. The hard thing with the scale is that it literally shows you one thing, and that's how much you weigh. That number is always right in front of your eyes. It doesn't matter if you have one of those fancy scales or a crappy scale that you literally bought at the dollar store, it's still going to show you that number. The first problem with the scale is that number being in your face, but also the fact in relation to BMI that it doesn't give you that calculation of the body mass, the body fat, how much your bones weigh, and how much water you have in your body at the time that you weigh yourself. There's no breakdown of what your body composition actually is unless you have one of those fancy magical scales that somehow tells you all of these factors. The way I want to explain BMI a little bit more for you guys is by comparing two individuals. So if you take, let's say, a tall, lean female that's got very low body fat percentage, and you take a bodybuilder who's got no body fat and very high muscle mass in their body, but they weigh the same. Let's say they both weigh 150 pounds. Both of these individuals are going to weigh the same, but when you actually calculate their body mass index with the equation, the value that equation is going to spit out is going to be completely different for these two individuals who weigh the same but have a completely different physique. With this in mind, I want to relate this to muscle versus fat. So the important thing to remember is that muscle actually weighs more than fat in the sense of how dense it is. So I want to read something to you guys quickly just to explain this a little bit better. And this is just from WebMD on Google. It's a quick and easy way just to kind of explain this to you guys. So it says muscle weighs more than fat. In simple terms, a pound of muscle weighs the same as a pound of fat. There's a doctor that explains that the difference is that muscle is much more dense than body fat. Therefore, in your body, a pound of muscle will take up much less room than a pound of fat. So because of the density of the muscle of fat, it's going to contribute to the number on the scale. If you think about when you first started training, or maybe that's where you're at right now, this is the perfect time for you to really get this understanding and this knowledge down so that when you are making changes, you understand what's actually going on. But if you think back to when you first started, and let's say maybe you took some baseline measurements where you did your hip and waist circumference, maybe you weighed yourself on a scale, and you wrote all these down, this is a good way to keep track of how you progress over time. So when you think about muscle weighing more than fat, let's say when you start off you have more body fat percentage than muscle mass in your body, and that's okay. You have to start somewhere, but you have this value starting off. And as you start training, you start to experience losing weight but gaining muscle. The number on the scale may not change that much. So as people start to get into their fitness routines and really start training and taking things seriously, it can get discouraging when you don't see the scale number changing. So that's where I want to say how important it is to understand that muscle weighs more than fat, because as you start to lose weight and gain muscle, your number on your scale may not change much compared to when you started off where you had more fat, less muscle. This is because of that fact that muscle weighs more than fat, because of that density. Your number may not change, or it may actually go up. But again, that scale number is not going to tell you that composition of what's going on in your body. A different and maybe more positive way that you can track your progress, track your weight loss and your muscle gain, is by taking measurements and progress pictures. So by taking measurements, you can literally take a small little measuring tape with centimeters and inches, this is what I use, and go around your hips, go around your waist, and calculate those measurements and write them down somewhere. Put them in your phone, put them in a fit book, whatever you have. Keep track of your measurements and take progress pictures. If you take measurements and progress pictures every week or bi-weekly, you have a way of tracking your progress over time, because when you actually take your measurements, things will start to change, and it's a more objective piece of data that you can actually see how your hips are changing and how your waist is changing over time. For females, most of us hold a lot of our fat in our waist and our hips, so especially with the measurements for the waist and the hip circumference, you will probably or most definitely see changes over time as you really start to get serious about your training. The last thing is focusing on how you look and how you feel in your clothes. I can't stress how much I use this one, because obviously your body's going to change over time. I've had to buy new shorts every year because I keep gaining muscle in my legs and my glutes, which I'm obviously not complaining about. This is a big way that it just shows me how I'm progressing. If you focus on how you look and you feel in your clothes, it's going to give you another way of tracking your progress and seeing the positive way that you're changing. Not everything's going to happen all at once, but it's just another simple way that, you can track your progress and people see it too. So people won't always see the number on the scale because a lot of people don't want to share that number. People won't always see your measurements because, again, you may not want to share those, but everyone's going to see how you look in your clothes. It's ultimately going to express in how you feel in your clothes, because obviously the better you feel in your clothes, the happier you're going to be, the more confident you're going to be. So just to wrap it up, key points: focus on how you feel and you look in your clothes, take your measurements and your progress pictures weekly or bi-weekly, and stay on track. Just wanted to give you a little educational video on what BMI means, why I don't like it, the scale and how it can be discouraging, and again, that muscle versus fat, making sure that you're aware of the difference in the composition of those two factors that make up our body. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, click the bell for notifications if you haven't already. Thank you to everyone that has. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. Stay tuned for the next video, and I'll catch you on the next one.